You're watching India Sense with me, Gaurie Dwivedi. This week, the focus is on Bangladesh and how the outcome will reshape ties with India. Let me first get started with the headlines coming. Tarique Rahman is all set to be the next Prime Minister of Bangladesh, ending months of uncertainty and volatility. For New Delhi, this ends a phase of deep flux where Bangladesh was governed by an interim, unelected leader. Jailed former Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan, has almost lost visibility in one eye. What happens if Imran Khan dies inside jail? How will this change the volatile landscape of Pakistan? What is Asim Munir thinking? We tell you. Trump-backed Save America Act is all set to impose new voting rules. Now, how will this new bill impact the Indian diaspora? We tell you. And from Bill Gates to Sam Altman, all roads lead to India as New Delhi gets ready to host the AI Summit on 19th and 20th of February. The focus will be on delivery, development, and making AI accessible for Global South. Big story this week, ending 18 months of political upheaval. Bangladesh is turning a sharp corner. Tarique Rahman is set to become the next Prime Minister, with his party, that is the BNP, getting a decisive victory. The victory also marks the end of BNP's being out of power for 2 long decades. Across the border, Prime Minister Modi has extended congratulations, indicating a likely diplomatic reset between Bangladesh and India. In fact, Dhaka is signalling stability and New Delhi is now watching intently. You see, Tarique Rahman is preparing to chart his own course. The Bangladesh Nationalist Party has won more than 2/3 of the seats contested, putting Rahman firmly on track to head a stable, strong government backed by a strong public mandate. The message from voters appears absolutely clear. They want consistency after the post-Hasina turmoil that the country witnessed. For Jamaat-e-Islami, the strategy to broaden appeal fell short. Its decision to field a Hindu candidate in Khulna 1 did not shift the numbers. The seat went to the BNP by a wide margin. Symbolism met arithmetic, and arithmetic won. Bangladesh outrightly rejected the Islamist bogey once again after 1971, and overwhelmingly the mandate could not have been clearer. All right, let's now tell you exactly the significance of this victory for Tarique Rahman, for Bangladesh, and more importantly, for the India-Bangladesh relationship as well. First up, I'm going to play out some of those important statements that Tarique Rahman made, because that gives a sense of what lies ahead for the India-Bangladesh relationship. Now, on the 28th of May last year, he said, Bangladesh comes first, not New Delhi, not Rawalpindi. That's important, because under Mohammad Yunus, the Pakistan-Bangladesh relationship had gotten cozier than ever before. On 7th of October last year, he said, India will face resentment if it keeps sheltering dictators. That's important, because he's making a mention of Sheikh Hasina. He says, demand rightful share of water, will not accept attacks on our people. Now, this is with regard to the Teesta Water Sharing Pact that is likely to gain momentum under the new government. On 18th of February, he said one-sided India deals need re-evaluation. And he says the ties must be on mutual respect. All of these are important because some of these will have to be deliberated afresh. Some of these agreements and pacts will now come up for fresh negotiations. Saurabh Gupta, my colleague who's on ground in Bangladesh, joins us live on the broadcast. Saurabh, you've been doing a fantastic job of covering the elections for NDTV. You and I have spoken about Bangladesh at length in past. What, according to you, stands out the most in the verdict that has come out? Tarique Rahman's priorities and his roadmap right there. And what is it that the people of Bangladesh are saying to you when you've been speaking to them?
Well, it's clear that all sections of society have voted for the BNP, and that's something that's absolutely clear in the verdict. And the BNP, of course, is now preparing. You can see, of course, top leaders of the BNP coming in. This is Mr. Humayun Kabir here, who is, of course, also one of the close aides of Mr. Tarique Rahman. And of course, he is someone who is advising Mr. Rahman. And these are issues that, the BNP will also have to take up. There are lots of challenges. Bangladesh has been in a climate of political instability in the last few months. There have also been violence perpetrated against minorities. All of those things will have to be looked into. And therefore, the BNP does have a challenge on its hands. And that's something that the BNP says they are prepared for, that they say that they have plans. And in fact, if you remember Tarique Rahman's speech and that famous line that he said, "I have a plan." So they say that they have a plan to tackle the challenges that Bangladesh faces and take it forward. Now, the BNP over the next few days will, of course, take these plans, push it into action, and they will, of course, try and, make sure that they have the necessary team in place to take forward Bangladesh. That's what all of what is going on now is all about. And the BNP is, of course, now preparing to form a government that will be able to look into not just the challenges that Bangladesh faces domestically, but also in foreign relations, especially the relationship with India, and other challenges that also have cross-border impact and cross-border influence, which is also the management of rivers, water sharing. All of these things will be something that would be on the table when it comes to foreign relations, especially the neighborhood relations. And Mr. Rahman has made it clear that he wants the relationship with the neighboring countries to be based on mutual respect, mutual understanding, and that's something that he will push for. But this is a moment of reckoning for the Bangladesh Nationalist Party. It was in a challenging position. Tarique Rahman only arrived in December, but now he's led the party to victory and is, of course, going to be the Prime Minister of Bangladesh.
Thanks, Saurabh, for breaking that down for us and putting some of those developments in perspective for us. Saurabh Gupta live from Dhaka. Now, viewers, as far as Tarique Rahman's priorities are concerned, they are now cut out. This is a party that has come to power after 20 years, comes after a bloody student uprising. It comes after deep volatility. So what's the first thing he has to do? He needs to form, now the government needs to have complete stability, and it needs to reflect the people's mandate as it is. Remember, this is an election where there's no Awami League, so a lot of the Awami League voters have gravitated towards the BNP, and that needs to be reflected in the governance that Tarique Rahman will focus on. Second important aspect is institutional strength needs to be restored, bringing commissions and oversight bodies back to credibility and public trust. Now, some of this actually saw massive deterioration during Muhammad Yunus's tenure. Some of this will also play out depending on what the referendum results are, what the people of Bangladesh really want. And that needs to be reflected in Tarique Rahman's policies. The third important aspect is focus on long-term stability with regard to economy. The Bangladeshi economy has seen a sharp dip in the last 18 to 20 odd months. They've taken a $2.1 billion of loan from China, but can they do that anymore? They need to focus on textile exports. Bangladesh actually is now part of the global supply chain with regard to textiles, 12% of that. That requires work. Beyond that, there is minority protection that needs to be a key focus area for Tarique Rahman. And finally, the regional equation. You have the Bangladesh-India relationship, the Bangladesh-Pakistan relationship, the Bangladesh-China relationship. All of that is now going to play out in how Tarique Rahman decides to put forth a Bangladesh first agenda, but at the same time ensure that it remains inclusive, democratic, and has a forward-looking agenda. That is what Tarique Rahman needs to focus on. The trade between India and Bangladesh has been thriving in the past. That needs to now come back. And for that to happen, both New Delhi and Dhaka need to move beyond suspicion, build a fresh legacy of trust, trade, people-to-people connection. But now comes the real test for Rahman. Delivery is the important part, because in the world of high-stakes politics, winning is one thing, governing is quite another. All right, let's get in Monindranath, who is the acting General Secretary of the Bangladeshi Hindu Buddhist Christian Unity Council. And we also have Mehdi Amin, who is the spokesperson of the BNP Election Steering Committee and advisor to BNP Chairman. Thanks so much, both of you, for speaking to me on India Sense. Mehdi Amin, let me start with you. Congratulations are in order. Your party has won with a historic mandate. Of course, one may say that some of the polls were indicating a landslide victory for Tarique Rahman. Let me start by asking you, now this historic mandate also comes with historic expectation. What will be the priorities for the next Prime Minister of Bangladesh?
Mr. Tarique Rahman has already said it in a couple of his press conferences and also in his speeches that the first priority will be to restore the law and order situation.
Okay.
We want to ensure that the people feel safeguarded and protected. Second priority will be to ensure accountability and transparency in governance so that a government with public mandate can truly serve the people, where they can question about various policies, programs, and progress of the government. And of course, it's important as another priority to ensure that we truly uphold the democratic essentials, the fundamentals of human rights, rule of law, and freedom of expression.
All right, Mr. Nath, respond to that. There are some very reassuring set of words coming in from the BNP spokesperson, talking about inclusivity, talking about minority protection, talking about law and order.
Thank you very much. Already by this time completed 13th parliamentary election and BNP got the 2/3 majorities. We thank you them. But there is a reality. We observe without any major incident, the election is completed, which we want. You know the history of the previous election, minority, when election comes, minority people always with fear and anxieties. But this year it is completed with peacefully. It is a good sign. Another sign is, minority people, 10% at present in Bangladesh out of total people, but only 2% from Hindus, 2% from hill tax areas, total 4% win in this election. There is a so big, it means proper representation in the parliament.
Yes.
It will not happen. Without representation of minorities,
I agree with you, sir. I agree with you completely. Without representation, there will be no focus on Bangladeshi minorities, particularly the Hindus. And while some of these reassuring words are extremely important, at the end of the day, representation paves the way for every aspect. You're absolutely right there, and I couldn't agree more. Mr. Amin, let me then ask you in terms of what next. There's expectation this could actually be a big bang sort of a swearing-in ceremony for Tarique Rahman. It could be celebratory in nature, massive in its sort of grandeur and celebration, and possibility of regional leaders also being invited.
Hope on Tarique Rahman.
Mr. Amin, yes.
Very optimistic, very hopeful that the way people of Bangladesh have embraced BNP, and we have seen the support from the international community as well for this democratic transition. Of course, it will have a great prospect for a global and wider integration.
Mr. Nath, what would you want from this government? That there will be a swearing-in ceremony. It will be grand. It will send out a message. 20 years later, BNP will be back in power. Tarique Rahman says he's not going to just carry on the legacy of his mother. He's going to start afresh. What, according to you, will be that fresh chapter in Bangladesh's future that Tarique Rahman should be focusing on?
We want our minority community will live here with anxiety-free life. Not only they want to live here with their equality, their rights, and without any sort of atrocities. You know, long time in this country, minority people tortured or different during the time of different regime. We want Tarique Rahman in future. He must look this sort of incident in future do not happen in future. So it is very necessary, required. In that case, you know, from the very beginning, we place different types of demand as because for our existence in this country, we need so many like as Minority Protection Act, Minority Commission. You know, this is very essential for us. But previous government not consider this. We just at this moment we want to the Tarique Rahman just to consider this sort of for equal justice. Absolutely. For all
Bangladeshi minorities cannot be second-class citizens. They need to be treated at par with the Islamic majority of Bangladesh. I completely agree with you. And I'm going to ask you just that, Mehdi Amin. I want to ask you that question with regard to, Bangladeshi Hindu atrocities as well. But before I come to that, Mr. Amin, I want to first focus on the India-Bangladesh relationship. One aspect of that is what happened with regard to Dipu Chandra Das and several others. But that isn't the only aspect of the India-Bangladesh relationship that has seen a lot of volatility. In your assessment, how do you see that changing with Tarique Rahman coming to power?
Oh, yes, absolutely. We want to forge a relations built upon people-to-people connectivity, a relation that is pragmatic and sustainable, and of course, thriving on equality, fairness, and justice, which means it will be mutual interest, it will be mutual benefit. And it will be reflection of the sentiment of the people of two nations.
Okay.
And that applies not just for any particular country, for the wider region as well.
Okay, for the wider region, of course, you now want to have a larger perspective in terms of the India-Bangladesh relationship. Mehdi Amin, now come in on the aspect about Bangladeshi Hindus. Mehdi Amin, do you think the minorities of Bangladesh need that reassurance as Mr. Nath is talking about?
Pardon?
Absolutely, it will be paramount. If you see the political ideology of BNP, it's Bangladeshi nationalism, which means we as a political party believe every Bangladeshi citizen, irrespective of the identity, whether it's in politics, whether it's in religion, whatever ideology or faith we hold, for every Bangladeshi, Muslim, Hindu, Christian, Buddhist, we will and we must ensure the same rights, the same protections, the same freedoms. That's the ethos of a united Bangladesh.
All right, I'm going to wrap this up right here. Thank you so much, Mr. Nath and Mr. Amin, for speaking to me on India Sense. At the end of the day, this is the hope that all Bangladeshis have who voted for Tarique Rahman with that kind of a historic mandate. The India-Bangladesh relationship also is now looking to be repaired and built from here on. On that note, a quick break on India Sense. We return with the other big story on the broadcast regarding Pakistan. Stay with us. We shift our focus now to Pariah Pakistan, where it is no longer just about a jailed former Prime Minister. It is about who truly holds power in Pakistan. At the center of the storm is Imran Khan, once the country's most popular leader, and today he sits inside Rawalpindi's Adiala Jail, deeply weakened. This according to a court-appointed report, having lost nearly 88% vision in one eye after months of medical neglect. In fact, his aides call it inhuman treatment. But this story, viewers, is far bigger than just about prison conditions in Pakistan. Because even behind bars, Imran Khan remains the only leader capable of mobilizing nationwide protests, all the way from Punjab to Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. And that makes him the single biggest political challenge to Pakistan's all-powerful Army Chief Asim Munir, since sweeping constitutional changes expanded the military's influence. Critics say General Munir now wields unprecedented authority. In Islamabad, Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif leads the civilian government, with his brother Nawaz Sharif still a dominant force. Opposition voices, however, describe the Sharif leadership as being politically dependent on the military establishment, and that's the way it is. Shahbaz Sharif is in power because of Asim Munir. And for Asim Munir, Imran Khan is a rallying point, a populist figure with deep grassroots support, a political brand that refuses to disappear. And here's the calculation. As long as Imran Khan remains politically relevant, he represents resistance. And if he is sidelined completely, the establishment may hope protests will fade. But Pakistan's recent history shows removing a leader does not always remove his influence. Behind prison walls, Imran Khan's future remains uncertain. And on the outside, the struggle over Pakistan's balance of power continues, which is why there is a high possibility that Imran Khan may not walk out of Adiala Jail and his health condition may continue to deteriorate. The global race for AI and digital governance is heating up. Countries are racing to control the artificial intelligence ecosystem, from critical minerals and semiconductors to data processing and manufacturing muscle. The US is investing aggressively in AI infra. China has embedded AI into its industrial and military strategy. The EU is shaping the regulatory guardrails, some would say overdoing it. But the AI governance is now shifting away from a lot of fear-driven policies to actual development, deployment, and delivery. And that's where India is actually charting its own course, or perhaps leading it. The India AI Action Summit is going to take place, where New Delhi will play host to AI leaders across the world. This is the first major international AI event to be hosted in the global south. Will cement that ambition, but this is bigger than just a summit. India moves towards its $7 trillion economy goal. AI is emerging as a force multiplier. Capital is pouring into Indian AI startups. Domestic large language models are being built for India's linguistic diversity. Semiconductor incentives are underway. Global partnerships are being forged to secure lithium, cobalt, and rare earth supply chains. Because AI cannot scale without chips, and chips cannot be built without critical minerals. Prime Minister Modi has called this India's tech decade. The focus now is on sovereignty, sovereign compute capacity, resilient manufacturing, and reduced dependence on volatile global supply chains. Artificial intelligence could add hundreds of billions to Indian GDP in the coming years. But the bigger shift, the deeper shift, is actually strategic. In the emerging world order, power will not just belong to those who innovate. It will belong to those who integrate code, chips, and capital. And India is positioning itself to do just that. All right, viewers, with that, we wrap things up on this edition of India Sense. Thanks so much for watching.